Hey guys, it's Justin again with another work in progress for the SD Resin Zaku build off with Jordan. This last little bit, I'm just going to show you a couple of different cleanup and fix methods that you might encounter and just how to deal with them. Basically, nothing too crazy. Here I have three little different issues. I'm actually going to try and do this on camera, so we'll see if I can get that done. The first one is pretty common with resin. This will focus. Probably zoomed in a little too close. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's like a little line that runs along like the thumb there. You can see it a little better there. It's kind of like an overlap type deal. And to fix this, and the reason you want to fix this is because it'll stick out when you paint and it'll look bad. So the way to fix this is you just get some sandpaper and you just very lightly sand it out. There we go. So, I like to inspect all my pieces and make sure that none of this is going on, which can take a little bit of time, but it's worth the effort to have a nice looking piece when you're finished. So that's not done, but yeah. But that's that piece. That's pretty basic. Depending on how deep it is, like if it's a really odd cut, you might want to go ahead and just use some putty. But sanding it generally just knocks the issue out of the way. So I'm gonna cut this off and finish doing this piece, and then we will move on to the next part, which is bending this back into place so that it fits this properly, because that looks really bad. Alright, and I'm back probably a week later after I started shooting this. Here is the warped piece, and we're going to go ahead and dip this in this boiling water. Or it's not really boiling now, but it's really hot. And the idea is to soften the resin a little bit and then bend it back into the shape it's supposed to be. So I'm going to use my tweezers for this, and we're just going to soak the parts that need to be bent back. And another thing is to be careful not to do, or not to, soak it too long, or to use water that's too hot, because you can actually melt the resin and then you're out of piece. So be careful. That does wow. And we're gonna go ahead and just stick that on. And man, it's hot. But there we go. So I think we finally got it. Yeah, there we go. Much better. And it only takes a couple minutes to get boiling water in the microwave, so we're just going to actually leave this on here. And I'm actually going to put some tape around it, just in case, because I want it to stay here. So I'm just going to, that way when it kind of sets up, it's as it's supposed to be. So probably not necessary, but I just want to make sure. So that's all you need for the hot water part. The last thing I was going to cover, but we're going to do a bonus round real quick. I don't know why I'm putting the lid on this, because I kind of need it. Pieces that are broken. If you break resin pieces, they're actually pretty easy to fix. I had a couple on the Efreet that broke, but unfortunately they broke kind of late in the game, and where I wanted to get that thing out the door, I didn't feel like stripping the pieces and repainting them and stuff like that, and it was more fitting issues than anything else. I learned this trick from Dave. Get some baking soda, you get some super glue, and I don't think that this kind is necessarily the right kind, but I don't have any other kind of super glue with me, so we're just going to go ahead and use what we got. I don't think it really matters too much, but you know. So my piece here is broken in half. What I'm going to do is just put some super glue on the break. Like so. I'm going to join the two pieces together, and I'm going to hold them for a few seconds just to let them kind of bond to one another. Oops. And once it's kind of done to the point where you think it's good to go, I'm going to use my tweezers for this too. You just kind of put some baking soda on it. What that does is it causes the super glue to dry. Basically instantly. There we go. Just kind of get that in there. And then you're going to have to go back and do some cleanup on the part, but I'm going to let it sit for a little bit and let it actually cure on the inside, not just the outside. And once that's done, then I can go ahead and fix that last bit. So the last thing that we have to talk about, it's going to take me just a second to get it set up for that, but basically this piece right here, the head looks fine as it is, but if you zoom in, you can see on the inside of the face mask here, pop these off, there is actually a little bit of a pinhole, and I'm going to go ahead and fill that in and try to rescribe that and make it look, you know, the way it should. And for that, you're going to need just a couple things. So give me 1 second, I'll come back and we'll discuss that. Alright, and I'm back. This tip was shared with me by my friend Ashley. She goes by Sarah Phoenix. She suggested using Bondo for filling gaps and stuff in resin, and she said this is a lot like using like Tamiya putty, except the advantage to this is that it's a two-part putty. You have to buy two parts unless you get the industrial size container from Walmart, but you can use this and it doesn't shrink like most putties or hobby putties do. And you don't need a lot of this. And another thing to note is this is thinnable with acetone. I don't think I'm going to thin it down. I think it should be alright. I'm just going to use a tiny bit anyway. I'm going to use my knife here. And I'm just going to go ahead and get a little bit of this. That's fine, whatever. And then we're gonna add next to none of this hardener stuff. We don't need very much of this. Just a drop. go. Okay. And again, we're going to use the knife to mix it all up and get it on the piece. Because we only need a tiny bit. So, get that inside there. And I'm just going to leave it like that. And then when it dries, we will come back and we will try to clean it up the best we can. So, and I'm going to get this dish cleaned as soon as possible because I don't want this drying inside of it. So, I'll be back and we will wrap this video up. Alright, just going to freehand this last bit. It's actually been cleaned up already because of the way it dried. There was no way I could actually tell if it was drying unless I was, poking at it, and then I would just wound up cleaning it up. But basically all I did was sand off the excess from the front and the side and use the knife going from the outside in to rescribe just in case the pieces weren't properly connected. Just take your time, be extra careful if there's detail, and it should be fine. Now this might need a little bit more work. I won't know until it's primer time, but we're basically ready for that. The backpack fix came out really well. I'm incredibly happy with that. So I am finally ready to start painting this thing as soon as possible. So hopefully all these little fix tips helped. Those of you who are curious about resin or starting resin, it won't be as intimidating. Don't get me wrong, resin is still tough. Resin is still you have to take your time and you have to actually work on it, and there's a lot of prep work, but I think the end result is worth all of your efforts. Like I said, just take your time, be careful, and you'll get a really nice looking result when you're done. So I'm going to end this video here. We'll come back and we will start painting. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. I haven't really settled on a color scheme for this thing yet, but as soon as I do and I wrap up a couple of these other tiny projects I've got going on, this is going to be at the forefront of the bench. So I'll see you guys real soon. Thanks for watching. Later.